What the heck? Hey! Hey! Come back! Welcome to 7th Gear Syndicate. This is a video that has been a long time in the making because I've had this car for, I don't know, math is hard. Bought it in July, a long time. This is my friend David.
Hello.
I almost feel like I should say family because you grew up in Blue Water, New Mexico, which is where my dad grew up. My dad knew his father-in-law, Wayne, worked for him since he was like a teenager. So long time family history. But wanted to bring David on and do kind of like a VinWiki feeling video where you share a story about a car, which the car behind us, 2012 CTS-V, because David actually owned this car before I did. So I'll let you jump in wherever you want to start the story of this awesome
Sounds
beast.
good. I know we've talked about bits and pieces of the story or the history from time to time.
Yes.
But here's the whole thing in detail. So the car we ended up with kind of by accident. It was a maybe flip, maybe not, at an out-of-state auction that we went to. It's a place that we used to go to pretty regular. We liked it because it had a variety of cars at this auction house.
Yeah.
Ex-police fleet vehicles, dealerships that were wholesaling items, sometimes just oddball estate sale type items, or police seizures. This one happened to be a police seizure, which we knew up front going into the thing, but it piqued our interest. So this was on our list of vehicles that we were looking at.
So you got like a list before you'd go to the auctions of like a preview of what you were getting into?
Yes,
Okay.
And they would always, this is pre-COVID, so back in 2016-ish or whatever.
Okay.
Pre-COVID, it was all live bidding. You could do an online bidding, but you never, obviously, we prefer to go try and check out the vehicles in person.
Right.
Then you really know kind of a lot better idea of what you're getting into with each vehicle. So it was on our list. So we have a particular, like we outline all the lots, you know, everything is lot whatever, lot
Right.
whatever for auctions. Outline them, start making notes on each one, what questions we have, what to check out, you know, see if there's any damage, maybe do VIN searches,
Yeah.
history, any title checks, anything like that. So we go and we park at one of the external parking lots for the auction house. There's shuttle drivers that will pick you up at this external lot and drive you the 1 mile or whatever to the auction house, because on auction day, hundreds, if not maybe, you know, who knows, we could have thousands of people. There's 3 auctions going on at the same time, but they shuttle everybody into the one little lot.
Okay.
We're talking to the driver. He recognizes us because we were out of state, so we were like the oddballs, and we hadn't spoken before.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so, hey, how you guys doing? The usual banter kind of. And then he's like, well, what cars are you looking at today? So I mentioned, we were checking out some police cars, and also there was a Caddy on the list that kind of piqued our interest. He's like, oh, that's, I've drove that car. He was like, we were like, really? So this is really keen inside information that helps, you know, when you go to buy a car.
Oh, yeah.
He said, yeah, 3-4 months ago, I was the guy that drove it from the police impound lot to the auction house. Okay. And he's like, it drove beautifully. He was all excited. He's like, oh, that was an awesome car. I'd never driven a car like that.
Yeah.
They are kind of unique cars. So then I was like, well, we got into it because it was stated as non-running currently on the auction listing.
Paperwork. Okay.
So he also filled us in. They parked it about 3-4 months ago. It was out of gas, and who knows what happened, but it never started again after it made it to the lot. And he said it drove, you know, no vibrations, no nothing, no check engine lights even when he drove it. So other than they parked it and it stopped running.
Yeah.
Good info to have. So we go check it out in person, and looks awesome. You know, the car looks pretty good. It didn't have a ton of miles. I think it was around 38,000 miles or so at the time.
Oh, wow.
Exterior was in pretty good shape. A couple dings, you know, that, and then the bumper was kind of messed up originally because probably when it was towed and seized originally.
Yeah.
But overall, car checked out. Really good car, solid inside and out. Checked out, you know, basic condition. Had a good battery, but it wouldn't crank, or it would crank but not fire, not start. That's the limit of what they let you do at the auction house. You can't go further into any kind of investigation, right?
Yeah.
You are not the owner yet.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's the info we had going into the lot. We're the day of the bidding, we show up, car comes up as the next lot. Okay, we start bidding, we reach our threshold, And then I kept bidding against whoever else was bidding against me, which is it's a good and the bad of the live auction feeling, right? You get that, you're in the moment and you're like,
you get caught up.
maybe just one more bid. One more bid's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So in the end, we won the car, but it went way higher than we wanted to, considering it was non-running.
Right.
So my wife was questioning, like, what did you do? What's going on? Because to this day, it's still the most expensive car we've ever purchased, and it was non-running.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Little bit of a risk there.
Yeah. We do all the paperwork, pay the auction house, get all that fixed, get the keys, the paperwork. All right. Now we can go and check it out. Went, verified that the battery was still good, because originally actually they jump started it. Verified the battery was still good. Verified that it would crank and crank and crank and just not fire. Hooked up my onboard diagnostics. No codes were coming up, but I think it was because the battery was dead.
Okay.
Really nothing much more to check out. We can't get it started. We tried, it was completely out of gas. So we went, got a couple gallons, threw it in, still no change. So again, now we're still dead in the water, which we knew going in. Worst case, we're having it towed back home.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did, had it towed. Before that, we had also, in between our initial inspection and the auction date, we did some more, background research. You check all the Carfax and everything. We found out that it was still under factory warranty. It had about 2 or 3 months under factory warranty. So we're like, I wonder if we can send it to the dealer and get things checked out.
Oh.
Luckily, so we did. We got it shipped back home, straight to the dealer instead of back to our house first. We're like, might as well just ship this problem to the problem solver.
That's awesome.
They end up checking it out. It is indeed a dead fuel pump. So they replaced the fuel pump under warranty. We got a fresh AC Delco battery.
Under warranty.
Yep. And then also, I think the seat blower for the cooled Recaro seats, that wasn't working properly, so they replaced that too. So it was all...
Didn't they do the dash you told me at one point?
Was
that something different?
It went back for the dash. That was a different warranty claim,
Different
but we
service.
did...
Okay.
Yeah. So we got all that fixed under warranty. It was awesome. So now we had a basic, and it was all stock. That's the other thing I kind of prefer when we were buying any kind of a fun or performance car.
Yeah.
Completely unmolested, stock, unless I know the history, or a friend of mine who I know I trust did the work, or a shop that I know that I trust did the work.
Right.
So now we're back to a stock car running everything. Great. Well, then now it's time to title it, because we hadn't been able to emission it or anything yet to this point. Right. Okay, we go and do more research. We get our paperwork, and we find the information about how the auction house ended up with the car.
Okay.
Okay. It was a seizure, but it was a seizure from a person that unfortunately went back to jail for charges.
Oh, man.
But he had a cool backstory also. This guy had been locked up or incarcerated for charges that he was then acquitted, I guess on appeal. Okay. They found him not guilty. Some new information came to light. He was released after many years in jail. And he was the first person in that state that was released after a new law went into effect, saying that for every year of wrongful incarceration, you get a certain chunk of money. I think it was like $40,000 or $50,000.
Holy smokes!
So he was acquitted or released, made his claim with the state, got his chunk of money, and then maybe he used the funds to try and start getting his life straightened out, or might have fallen maybe in with the wrong crowd or whatever, because then he ended up getting caught up in a police sting where they confiscated this car with him in it with a meth pipe at a fast food joint. So that was where this car then was taken away from him and then given to the local authorities, where they ended up sending it off to the auction house many months later.
Yeah.
And so that's how it went to the auction house.
Okay.
Awesome. Just, it was a cool backstory to find out about the car after the fact, right? All right, so we mission it, we title it, drive it around. At first we thought maybe we'll flip the car. It really started growing on both my wife and I, so we kept it, started driving it around. Had it for about a year, and then came up that LS Fest in Vegas was going to happen. It was the inaugural LS Fest West, the first one that they were going to do outside of Bowling Green, where the original LS Fest is held.
Okay.
Well, we're like, it's a perfect time to modify the car.
Oh man.
So 2 months before the event, I convinced the wife to let me start tinkering with this thing, and with the help of a few local friends and a friend with the shop, we started getting parts lists together and just to do all the basic mods that most people do with the CTSVs. So we threw all of this stuff at it like a month before LS Fest, was able to get it tuned and make the event, raced for 3 days. It was awesome. Car performed great.
What events did you do at that LS Fest?
So
Because I know you've told me in the past they have lots of different things.
they have a bunch of different events. So we had first tried to do the Grand Champion, which is like a mixture of the autocross, road racing, start-stop, slalom, drag racing, and that might be it. I'm not sure. There might be more to it. But it's like an overall. So the Grand Champion title goes to the best average or points accumulation out of all these events.
Right.
We ended up just drag racing.
Okay.
Because that was kind of the focus at first, and I didn't look at all the rules. I'd never done a competition like that. And once you do Grand Champion, you have to use the same tires for the entirety of the event. So you can't
you're
swap.
competing in the autocross and the drag race. It's not like you can go from your drag radials to back to a street or more of a track tire for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I had just bought rear drag tires and drag radials for this event. I was like, I'm getting the most use I can out of this. So it was all drag all through, all weekend, which was fun.
Yeah.
So it worked out great. But before we went to LS Fest, we threw all the basic CTSV bolt-ons on it, right?
Okay.
Upper pulley, lower pulley, a mild combo, 255 upper, 86 lower. LS9 cam, so we changed out the camshaft from the LSA, which is a super baby cam, to an LS9, which is not a big step. It's still very mild. It's factory in the C6 ZR1.
Yeah.
Changed out, upgraded the springs, valve train, push rods, all that. Corresponding modifications for the camshaft change. We did 2-inch ARH headers with a X-pipe all the way to the stock coupe muffler.
Yep.
Then we did flex fuel, of course, because these blower motors really benefit from flex fuel. They really love the flex fuel is an awesome, basically poor man's race fuel for these things.
Yeah.
And a catch can. That might be about the extent of the mods. Oh, aerate intake, I forgot.
Yep.
Because it was completely stock. We did everything. Intake, exhaust, headers, catch can, cam, and that might be it for performance-wise. It's all it took. It's got awesome brakes. It's got awesome suspension already, so we just kind of fed it more power.
These had Brembos from the factory. They had the magnetic ride suspension.
Yep. Magnetic ride, which responds awesomely.
Yeah.
At the push of a button, it's either sport or touring. Responds great. The car came with these 20-inch aftermarket wheels, which also kind of grew on me. I had purchased a set of stock CTSV coupe wheels and thrown them on.
Yeah.
But then I was like, these 20s actually look pretty good. So we went back to these. And
are 20-inch wheels what they come with stock?
No, they're 19s. So it's a staggered 19
front
by 9 front, 19 by 10 rear.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So these, I don't know the widths on these, but they work all right for the car.
Yeah.
And as they twirl or roll down the road, it kind of gives like a twinkling effect, which really complements the black diamond paint.
Yeah, the paint on this.
So it turned out, turned out to be a great overall combination for a car. We ended up also, how I mentioned, the bumper had been messed up when we first bought it, and it was really messed up from the toe. So we got a brand new GM bumper. They were still available back then. I don't know if they still are. Mm-hmm. We added a Black Moon Products front splitter, which to just kind of, again, complement the shape and the design of the bumper.
Yeah.
And redid the headlights. They had a little bit of yellowing, so we had the body shop guy clear those and then body match the top of the lights just to give it a little bit different character.
Yeah.
So that's really
I think that's how this car should have come from the factory.
It turned out really, really awesome. And the body guys, he does great work. He's done a bunch of really detailed work for me in the past. So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so after you, how many years did you own it before you sold it to the guy that I bought it from?
So
how did that come about? Because that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, as a flip, we ended up with the car for about 4 years or so. So definitely
something that should have been like 4 to 6 weeks. Let's buy it, let's flip it.
Yeah, it turned out to be a long-term thing. We enjoyed the car. Yeah. And even when I sold it to the person you bought it from, I hadn't listed it for sale. It was just through a word of mouth of a friend asked, hey, would you be willing to sell the Cadillac? And I'm like, as I've done, I have a reputation of doing with many things. If somebody offers me enough money, I'll end up selling it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just parts off of a car.
Right.
I've been known to tear down my running car and sell the parts that I intend to upgrading anyway.
That's funny.
As soon as I have the offer,
Somebody puts
presented
cash on
to
the
me.
Table. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, this car, that's kind of what it was. So what started out as maybe a flip ended up being something we really liked, and we road tripped it to New Mexico many times, California many times.
Yeah.
So, and it did great. So on the road on pump gas, I think we'd get up to 22 miles per gallon, even as modified with the mild cam.
Okay.
On pump, somewhere in the 20 to 22 range highway.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Flex, not so much. But Flex really wants it. It invites you to push the limits and have more fun with it anyway.
Exactly.
So
that's hilarious. Lots of beautiful plastic.
Right. So
who needs chrome parts when you could have
the only
black,
thing you can
shiny
kind of see
plastic?
is the throttle body is off of an LS3 instead of an LSA, so it's a 90. And then we had that ported by a local guy.
Gotcha.
That and the blower snout.
That's hilarious. So I'm trying to remember when you told me about the car, because this wasn't a car that was really even on my radar. I mean, I knew that you had owned it. I remembered when you guys had owned it. I remember seeing it. I think I got a ride or something like that. But was it like back in May? Because it was a while. He had told you about it.
Yeah.
Jordan, the guy that you sold it to, had said, hey, I'm looking to sell the car again. You wanted to get, what do you buy, an overlanding vehicle or something like that?
Right. We had kept in touch with the previous owner. Plus, he could ask me questions. I always offered that, hey, since I'm the one that did all the work, I can answer any questions for you. If you ever need to get anything repaired, something's not running right, whatever, I'll try and help out as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I would hear from him every once in a while, and then recently he was trying to do some things to upgrade the fuel system. But then he decided to sell the car, so he was kind of offering it back to me or knowing if I knew anybody that'd want to buy the car, and I told him I might consider it, or at least I'll spread the word to some friends and see what we can do. And that might have been somewhere, in the April or May time frame.
Because it was a while, because I said, oh, I'm out of town right now, I'll talk to you about it when I get back, and then I want to say it was almost a month, and I was like, oh yeah, didn't you say your Cadillac was for sale?
Yeah.
And then it took several weeks to get the deal worked out, because I picked it up from him. I flew out to Vegas like beginning of July.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty funny how it came kind of full circle.
Right. And obviously you were only into cars as of recently, but you had, I think at that time you had, it hadn't been too long since you had sold your Corvette.
Yeah, I sold the Corvette February, March of this year.
So when you were looking for cars, you were still looking for something.
I was looking at Corvettes again.
Corvettes, or you're still on the Lotus kick.
Yes.
And I know, and even when I told you about it, I'm like, okay, I know you're looking for something kind of agile and lightweight.
Yes.
Let me offer you something
Which this
that's
is not
at all. So I don't know how much the car weighs by itself, but I know at LS Fest when we ran it that first year, I was able to pull on the scales and loaded the car with me in it was 4,800 pounds.
Yeah.
It does have a custom stereo, some sound deadening, and who knows what else.
Right.
But I mean, it's not a light car by any means.
So that's, let's see, that is 2 1/3 Lodi. Because those weigh like 2,000 pounds.
in Lotuses?
Yeah, we're going to measure this in Lotuses. Yes.
Yeah. So I offered it up because I was still thinking this was still, in my mind, still a great car out of the cars I've owned. Performance-wise, for the price point, it was a really good performing car, really good handling car. We've done some canyon carving with it. Yeah. And it handles pretty well for being as heavy as it is.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And it has a really good street presence. I mean, you walk up, or this thing gets lots of looks. Just the look of the car is awesome. It's unique. It's kind of cool. Yeah. People either love it or hate it. They call this the doorstop or the wedge or whatever. But
that's funny.
The body shape, the really wide rear fenders really grew on it. I mean, it looks awesome. It's just in its stance. Factory hood, factory everything. Yeah. It's got the nice bulge already. So.
Right. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we offered it up to you, and then and a couple other friends. Yeah. But you were the one that chimed in, saying that you might consider it. So. Then you took a deeper look at it, and I started feeding you all the YouTube CTSV videos I could to try and give you educate you on what you might be getting into as much as possible.
Right. No, it's definitely been a fun car. And we've actually talked about possibly selling it back to David and his wife. So
which I am open to. It might happen. But I do already
that'll
have.
be good.
I always have too many cars.
Yeah,
It's-
that's a car guy thing. You
That's
always
a
have
constant.
a project and a half going. So
Right. Through life, that's just a constant thing. So what'll happen is I will probably get rid of another car,
to make room
one
for
of my
this.
Holdens,
Yeah.
and make room for this one probably.
That's awesome.
So
Well, yeah, I'm glad that we got to share the story and hear it directly from you. I mean, I could have related most of that probably because I've heard it a couple times, but figured it'd be fun to have you come on the channel and
Right.
just talk about the car because it is a very unique car. You don't really see them. We've talked about that, and I was talking about that on another video. You don't really see a lot of them, and now that it's on my radar, I'm looking for them more. But when I see a CTS, I'm like, oh, okay, is it a V? And most of the time it's not. It's just a CTS,
Right.
and it's somebody that's got gray hair and is over the age of 70 driving it. So
yeah, and even still, like we were at Omega Motorsport event, right, a few weeks ago.
there were hundreds of cars out there.
Where are the V's at?
There
You know,
was-
like where are they?
There were no other coupes. There was the guy next to us,
There were two
And
other
his
Cadillacs,
sedan.
a
but that was
CTS
a-
V3,
That was that was a V3. This
and
is a
then
V2.
there was a CT5V Blackwing.
Blackwing, yeah.
The
which
new-
is
the new
kind
big
of-
dog.
Yeah, that's kind of out of this world.
But V2s, those events used to bring out a ton of V2s, and I was surprised to, at least on the Saturday of the event,
Yeah,
we were the only V2 out there, which is weird.
yeah. Kind of cool though. It's
Yeah.
kind of fun to show up. I mean, Dodge Vipers seemed commonplace compared to this. There were, what do we count, 7 or 8 Vipers out there of
Yes.
varying generations, but only one CTS V2.
And you still had a few people come up and try and compliment you on the car.
Yeah,
Like, oh, hey, look, it's a V2.
It's because he cleaned it. He was out there. Okay, I have to because it's hilarious. I was there to race said car. As I was staging, we were walking up. You were walking beside me. He's spraying the car down, cleaning it right before I'm ready to go down the drag strip. It's not like what do they call that? When models go down the thing. Yeah, it wasn't like we were showing off the car. We were there to race. But yeah, no, it's a really cool car, and I'm really glad that you turned me onto it, and yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, I felt it was partially my duty as a pit crew guy, since
To
I
clean
was
the car.
along for the ride to help out.
Oh man.
Let's try and make the car look clean. I've missed many a car show because I would rather
car wasn't
not go
clean.
to the car show than show up with a dirty car.
Wow.
So,
I appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you, David, for coming out and being a part of this.
Of course.
I know it's taken us a while to get our schedules together, and I know I totally texted you at like 4 o'clock and said, hey, do you want to film at 4:30? But glad we were able to make it happen. And thanks to all of you guys for watching today's video. Really appreciate it. Appreciate those who have subscribed. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Drop us a comment below. I would love to hear from you, seriously. Whether it's, hey, cool video, I liked this one, or if you have questions about the car, if you have suggestions for other videos, I genuinely want to hear from you, and I appreciate it. So if you haven't subscribed, do that. Drop a comment and tell your friends too. That's how we hope the channel to grow. So until next time, thanks for tuning in to 7th Gear. What the heck? Hey! Hey! Come back! I didn't know you were still following me.